Chapter 31. A Marriage Proposal, an Unexpected Date. A few more weeks of political maneuvering and preparations had passed. The king had officially bestowed the title of Lord William, Warden of the Forest and Defender of the Realm. And with his new titles and resources secured, William, Samantha, and Olivia were finally preparing to leave the capital for Fern Village. William said his goodbyes to the king and then met with Duke Hamilton. The Duke, eyes still moist with emotion, hugged William tightly. "Could I come and visit?" Charles asked. William nodded. "You can visit at any time, Grandpa." The Duke hugged him once more and took his leave. Edward, the second crown prince, then approached William and Samantha. "Please, take care of my Olivia." "Don't worry, Edward," Samantha reassured her brother, grasping his hand. "I'll treat her like my own daughter." "I would actually prefer that," Edward said, his smile strained. "Not many people know about Olivia, and she's my illegitimate daughter. I don't want to put her through the gossip." "Don't worry, brother," Samantha said firmly. "We will make sure she grows up well, away from these prying eyes." "Thank you again, Samantha," Edward said, his relief palpable as he took his leave. Samantha then turned to William, her expression serious. "William, we need to talk about something. Every noble has a duty to protect their lands and people. They also have a duty to produce a successor." William looked confused. "What are you getting at, Mother?" "Well, I have a marriage proposal for you." William was shocked. "Marriage proposal? To me? Who in their right mind would want to marry me and move all the way to Fern Village?" "There was one lady that you made quite an impression on during the banquet," Samantha said, a secretive smile playing on her lips. "You will also need a wife to help you govern your domain. I've already looked into her, and she is a good candidate." William was taken aback by the suddenness. He thought logically. Having a wife made sense for his new station, but he had always wanted to marry for love, not political gain. "Trust me," Samantha said, seeing his hesitation. "There is nothing political about this. You don't have to get married right away. It's just that if we don't hurry, she will be promised to someone else." William pondered the request, realizing his mental age, older than his 16-year-old body, made this entire situation feel surreal. 18, William stated, making a decision. "We will talk to each other until we both turn 18, and if she still wants to marry me then, I could accept it. However, I don't know what I did to carry this much favor, but given the near-death experience everyone faced, everyone's emotions were heightened. I don't want them to regret their choice later." "Are you sure you're a 16-year-old child?" Samantha asked, playfully using his own earlier words. "I'm an old man at heart," William said, laughing. "But please explain this to them. I don't want them to think I'm not interested. I just want to be respectful of their feelings and decisions." Samantha's smile became mischievous. "I'm sure you don't have to worry, William," she said, giggling. William instantly started to worry. He then asked if he could see Miss Elizabeth before he left to make sure she was feeling okay. Samantha's smile widened even more. "I'm sure we can arrange a visit before we set off." They all boarded the carriage and made their way to the Count Conrad's estate. When they arrived at the mansion, William was greeted by an older gentleman with neatly trimmed blonde hair that flowed to his shoulders. The Count wore a rich outfit that had a deep blue velvet base, accented with intricate silver stitching along the cuffs and lapels, suggesting quiet wealth and nobility. "My name is Count Earl Conrad," the man introduced himself. William bowed his head. "Thank you for having me today. I'm sorry for the late notice. I wanted to check on Elizabeth before I left." "Certainly," the Count said. "I'll have the butler lead you to the drawing room. Also, I wanted to thank you for saving Elizabeth's life. If it wasn't for you, she wouldn't be here today." "It was nothing," William replied. The Count smiled and took his leave while the butler guided William to the drawing room. The room was a picture of old-world elegance and comfort. The walls were paneled in dark, rich cherry wood, and the floor was covered by a massive Persian rug in shades of deep red and gold. A large fireplace, though unlit, dominated one wall, framed by two tall, velvet-upholstered armchairs. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, illuminating the dust motes dancing over a round, mahogany tea table placed in the center. A maid brought in a tray of tea and delicate cakes. William picked up a slice of cake, examining the intricate icing. The realization hit him that he hadn't focused on sweets since he arrived in this world. "I miss my oatmeal pies now," William said, nostalgia hitting him as he took a bite of the overly sweet cake. He set it back down, took a sip of the lukewarm tea, and closed his eyes. "Well, I wouldn't give for some sweet iced tea," he thought, his memories of his old life momentarily resurfacing. The door to the drawing room opened, and Elizabeth walked in. She wore a light blue silk gown that contrasted beautifully with her golden hair. Her hair was not braided this time. Instead, her long, silky golden hair flowed freely to the middle of her back, lending her a softer, more approachable look than she displayed at the banquet. William stood up as she entered and waited for her to take a seat on the velvet armchair before he sat down again. William started the conversation. "How are you doing, Elizabeth? I wanted to come and check on you before I left." "I'm just fine," Elizabeth replied, her voice soft. "A lot better now that you came to visit." William smiled. "That's good to hear. I'll be leaving today. We're going back to Fern Village to properly start rebuilding." Elizabeth's face fell instantly at the news. "Would it be possible for me to visit you, William?" William nodded warmly. "You can come and visit me whenever you want, Miss Elizabeth." Elizabeth smiled, relief flooding her features. "Thank you. I will come and visit you for sure now." They talked for a while longer, sharing stories and making small talk. William found her much more engaging and sweet outside of the political pressures of the banquet. When the time came for him to leave, he stood up. "I had a good time talking to you today, Elizabeth. I look forward to you coming to visit me in Fern Village." Elizabeth stood as well. "I also had a nice time today. I'm sad that you're leaving, but I will definitely come to visit soon." William bowed his head and took his leave. On the carriage ride back to Fern Village, Samantha, who had been waiting outside, immediately started questioning William. "Did you have a good time talking to Elizabeth?" Samantha asked, a wide grin on her face. "Yes," William said, settling back. "It was very enjoyable. She was a little out there at first, but once you get to know her better, she's a nice person." "Oh, really?" Samantha prodded. "So, do you like Elizabeth?" "Yeah, I guess," William admitted. "She's a sweet girl. What's not to like about her?" "Good," Samantha said, her grin turning into a smirk. "This makes things easier." "What are you talking about, Mother?" "It's about your marriage proposal," she said simply. "I don't think you're going to have a problem with it." "What do you mean, Mother?" he asked, a sense of dawning dread filling him. Then, the realization hit him like one of Astaroth's shadow fists. "Mother, is Miss Elizabeth the one who proposed marriage?" Samantha shrugged her shoulders innocently. "Who knows? I guess you'll find out soon enough. It has to be approved by the king. Then an official letter will be sent out, so you'll know in due time." Samantha burst into giggles. "Why are you laughing so much, Annie?" Olivia asked from the seat next to them. "It's nothing, Olivia. Just having fun with Uncle William." "I want to have fun with Uncle, too." "All right, come over here," William said, pulling Olivia close, using the interruption as a blessed escape from the conversation. "I'll tell you a story about a princess that gets put to sleep by an evil witch, and it's up to the prince to wake her up with a kiss of true love." "Yeah," Olivia said, eyes wide with excitement. "Uncle's stories are the best." "Yep," William boasted, knowing good and well he stole every one of them. Chapter 32, The Warden's Manor. William held out his hands as he stepped down from the carriage onto the earth of his new domain. He first assisted his mother, Samantha, then offered a steady hand to Olivia. "We are finally home," William said, a genuine smile spreading across his face. Olivia, overjoyed and overstimulated by the freedom of the open space after the confines of the city, was running in quick, delighted circles. William bent down on one knee to meet her at eye level. "So, where do you want us to build our house?" he asked her. Olivia immediately pointed to an open area close to the majestic world tree. "Over there, Uncle. You can see the village and the big tree." "Okay then," William said, standing up. "Let's start on our new home." William immediately set to work with the carpenters and builders he'd brought from the capital. The construction process was surprisingly fast, as William used his earth magic to handle the heavy lifting, shaping the foundation, raising massive stone supports, and laying down earth-packed walls. The result was the Warden's Manor, a large, sturdy, but modest mansion befitting a frontier lord. Its exterior was constructed from local, dark gray fieldstone for the foundation and first floor, transitioning to dark cedar wood for the upper levels and trim. It was built with defense in mind, featuring a solid, square structure with a steeply pitched roof. The main feature was a large, covered porch supported by thick, natural wood pillars, offering a view of both the village and the regenerating forest. It was a home that looked both formidable and natural, perfectly harmonizing with the environment it was sworn to protect. "You'll need to think up a family crest," Samantha said, watching the work progress. "What do you mean, Mother?" William asked, pausing his work. "Since you're a new noble, you would need a crest and a family. Name." William looked at the back of his hand, where Vania's staff had been absorbed, leaving the glowing crest of a giant tree. He knew instantly what his family crest would be: a giant, branching tree, rooted in the earth and reaching for the sky, symbolizing his connection to the forest and his new identity as its guardian. As for a family name, he still wanted to think about it, firmly deciding he definitely didn't want to use his old family name, Stokes. A few months passed. Carriages and people came and went, bringing supplies and furniture. William agreed to let his mother handle the interior decorating, relieved to focus on the structure and defense, as he had no sense for curtains or color palettes. One clear morning, William decided to check on the forest progress. Olivia, now completely at home and fascinated by the outdoors, immediately wanted to join him. William agreed, knowing the forest was his domain and he could protect her if anything were to happen. They walked toward the world tree. William could tell instantly that the healing process was advancing better than he expected. What once was a desolate wasteland had now started to flourish. New life was bursting through the scarred soil, and the air was thick with the scent of damp earth and fresh growth. Tiny saplings poked through the ground, and moss was creeping back onto the exposed roots of the few remaining older trees. "How does it look, Olivia?" William asked, his voice full of satisfaction. "Looks really good, Uncle," she replied wide-eyed. "So pretty, all the flowers." William walked over and picked a few wildflowers that had bloomed in a sheltered spot. He then carefully weaved them into a delicate crown and placed it gently on Olivia's silver hair. "There you go," he said, smiling. "A beautiful crown for a beautiful princess." Olivia smiled wide, hugging herself with joy. "You mean it, Uncle?" "Of course I mean it." "Thank you, Uncle," Olivia said, starting to get shy and embarrassed by the compliment. "Let's head back now," William said. "Are you tired? Do you want to ride on my shoulders?" Olivia, excited by the prospect of a high-up ride, eagerly accepted William's offer. As they headed back toward the rising manor, William turned to look at the forest one last time, feeling the profound love and embrace of nature returning to life, confirming his destiny as its lord. Chapter 33: A Returning Sister. As William and Olivia returned home from the forest, William heard a familiar, boisterous sound coming from the manor. "There's only one person that could be," William said, a small smile touching his lips. He rounded the corner and saw his twin sister talking animatedly with their mother. "Sarah," William called out, setting Olivia down. She turned, saw William and Olivia, and came running. William braced himself for a hug, but Sarah zipped right past him, straight to Olivia. "Oh my, if she's not the cutest thing ever," Sarah exclaimed, picking up Olivia. "And I love this flower crown. You are too pretty." William hung his head low, defeated, as Olivia received all the praise. Samantha just smiled. "What did you expect in the presence of Olivia?" William nodded in resignation. "You have a point, Mother." Once Sarah calmed down, William and Samantha explained all the happenings at the capital: the king's recognition, the title, the resources, and the reconciliation with both grandfathers. "Oh yeah," William said. Both of our grandfathers want to meet you. I told them I would ask you first, and then set up a meeting date whenever you were ready. Sarah agreed. We can do it whenever, but I hope they don't expect me to change the way I am. They know this, William assured her. I already explained to Grandpa that you didn't want any part of their world, but you still have to be respectful. I know, Sarah shot back. I'm not stupid, you idiot. William squinted at her. You've been hanging around thugs too long at the guild, haven't you? That reminds me, how is everything in town? They still talk about you, Sarah said, rolling her eyes. The town's savior. That's embarrassing, William mumbled. It's true, Sarah insisted. You not only defended the town, but you also eliminated the threat. People don't easily forget stuff like that. It can't be helped then, William said, looking even more embarrassed. Once everything is done here, we were going to invite Duke Hamilton because he wanted to meet you, and my friend I met at the banquet is coming to visit. Her name is Elizabeth. Sarah's full attention snapped to William, her eyes twinkling. So, a girl is coming to visit you, brother? How scandalous. Shut up, William muttered. Do you even know what scandalous means? What does scandalous mean, Uncle? Olivia chimed in. William looked defeated again. I'll tell you when you get older, Olivia. Go play in the garden. William then looked at Sarah with serious concern. Sarah, make sure to be careful when taking missions. If you haven't already heard, there was another demon attack trying to assassinate the king. I heard about that, Sarah confirmed. Just be careful, William said softly. I don't want anything to happen to my sister. Sarah gently grabbed her brother's hands and put them onto her face. Ah, are you worried about your sissy? William snatched his hands back. You're a lost cause, he said, turning away. A few days later, while William was overseeing the construction of the barracks, mail arrived from the capital. One letter was from Duke Hamilton, asking when the construction would be complete and if Sarah had agreed to meet him. Another was a familiar letter from Elizabeth. They had been sending letters back and forth regularly for a while now. Finally, a royal sealed letter arrived, bearing the king's official stamp. Is this the letter we've all been waiting for? William asked, excitement and apprehension mixing. Wait, Samantha said to William. Let me read it first. He handed her the letter. She quickly skimmed the contents, her mouth twitching into a suppressed grin, and handed it back to him. It was the official confirmation of the marriage proposal. After reading the letter, William looked at his mother. Mother, he said. Yes, son. I kind of figured that Elizabeth was the one, but why does it say that I requested this marriage? Samantha turned, attempting to sneak off, but William caught her arm. Well, William, how would it look if she asked you to marry, and then later you all decided to cancel it? If she requested marriage, and it didn't work out, she would have a hard time finding someone else. When in turn, you didn't care in the beginning, so it's a win for you. Also, the man should always ask the lady for her hand, she explained, stifling a giggle. I guess that makes sense, William conceded, sighing. The logic of noble courtesy, as manipulative as it was, protected Elizabeth's reputation. Samantha started giggling again. Chapter 34. A plea and a new family member. With the warden's manor complete and the majority of the initial defenses established, William finally felt comfortable enough to open Fern Village to visitors. He penned and sent out official letters to Duke Hamilton, Miss Elizabeth, and Edward, inviting them to his domain. He also sent word to his sister, Sarah, informing her about the planned visit from their grandfather and uncle. As preparations began, William suddenly felt a familiar, insistent tug, a subtle disturbance in the network of life that now formed his consciousness. He needed to go to the forest. William walked swiftly into the familiar quiet of the trees, his awareness scanning the life around him. Víðarr greeted him, materializing into view with a serious expression. Greetings, William, she said. I need your help. William immediately adopted a posture of resolve. What would you need me to do, Víðarr? Some children of the forest are in dire need of help, she explained. There's a small, delicate race of fairies called pixie humans, and they're being tormented by vicious creatures called redcaps. They are on the verge of extinction and have prayed for someone to save them. So, I ask you as the guardian, will you please answer these pixie humans' prayers? If any creature in this forest desires my assistance, William stated firmly, I will answer them. Víðarr nodded, pointing out the location of the Redcaps' activities. William moved through the trees, his senses extending before him. The closer he got, the more the forest felt bruised and angry. The Redcaps were easy to identify on his monster sense. He picked up about 23 strong signatures surrounding a densely wooded area. They looked like an evolved, much larger form of goblin, with tough, scarred skin and a distinctive red tint to the cores for covering their heads. Investigating further, William noticed small, elaborate wooden structures hidden high in the branches. They resembled detailed birdhouses but were clearly pixie human houses. The Redcaps were gathered below, trying to smoke or smash the tiny dwellings. William stopped, channeling his power. He let the white light envelop him, transforming instantly into the Druid Guardian. With a roar of earth magic, William slammed his foot down. A wave of hardened roots and jagged rock erupted from the ground, splitting the Redcaps' formation. He didn't wait. He charged, his mithril sword blazing with a sharp, emerald green light. He was a blur of swordsmanship and nature magic. One Redcap lunged. William parried the blow and followed with a clean strike, the mithril slicing through the creature's hide. Simultaneously, he raised his hand, and thick, strangling vines shot out, binding a group of 5 Redcaps tightly. The vines, laced with forest mana, tightened until the creature's dark strength was crushed. The Redcaps, surprised by the swiftness and power of the attack, tried to coordinate. A large brute with a rusted axe charged. A sudden, violent gust ripped through the clearing, disorienting the creature, allowing William to conjure a sharp spike of solidified wood from the ground, impaling the brute and taking it out of the fight. He fought relentlessly, his movements a perfect dance between his druid form's enhanced physical strength and his mastery of the elements. With the remaining Redcaps panicking, William activated his earth mating, causing the ground to turn into thick, seizing mud that held the final creatures in place. He then unleashed a wave of concentrated life energy, a purifying pulse that stripped the remaining dark energy from their bodies, neutralizing them completely. The battle was over quickly. William, still in his druid form, stood in the silent clearing. The threat is over, he declared, his voice booming with relief. I have defeated the monsters. Slowly, the tiny pixie humans started to peek out of their houses, their fear still palpable. They saw the inert forms of the Redcaps and the towering, luminous figure of the Guardian. William could feel their overwhelming fear and untrusting nature through his connection to the forest. He let his appearance slowly return to his regular form. As the light faded, Víðarr appeared beside him and communicated silently with the pixies. William could feel the conversation. Víðarr was explaining who William was and what he had done for them. Víðarr then turned to William. They are grateful, but terrified of remaining here. Would you provide them a safe environment? William quickly agreed. I think the best place would be close to the World Tree. I can protect them better there and also build them a settlement. The pixies also help the growth of the forest flowers, so this is a win for everyone. He thought grimly about Astaroth. If he had been any later, these pixies may have been gone forever. William set off through the woods, heading toward the majestic World Tree. Once there, he used his magic to quickly and gently build about 50 small, sturdy houses for the pixies, nestled safely around a massive tree's base and covered by its expansive canopy. He addressed the fearful pixies. This area is my domain, the guarded heart of the forest. No monsters will venture here to trouble you anymore. But if there is danger, I want everyone to run and hide. I will come find you and protect you. William felt the anxiety leaving the pixies and new hope flooding their collective minds. All I ask, William continued, is that you help me take care of this forest because it's our home. The pixies, delighted and relieved, accepted William's offer. As William watched all the tiny creatures settle into their new homes, a single, small pixie came and sat on his shoulder. She was noticeably smaller than the others, dressed in clothes fashioned from leaves, long ears, curly green hair, transparent wings that sparked in the sunlight like stars, and William could sense a deep sorrow emanating from her. Víðarr appeared. She lost her parents to the Red Caps, so she doesn't have anyone to turn to. I see, William said with a heavy expression, looking at the tiny pixie. He couldn't help but remember the feeling of abandonment from his past life. Do you want to come live with me and be a part of my family? The pixie's eyes widened, and she nodded her head vigorously. I don't know if you have a name, but I'll give you a nickname. How about Willow? The pixie flew up to William's forehead and kissed him. William felt a warm spot, and then a small, clear voice echoed directly in his mind. Thank you. My name is now Willow, and I will be in your care. Chapter 35, Willow's Introduction. William looked down at the tiny pixie on his shoulder, completely surprised. I can't hear you, he said aloud. Is that you, Willow? Yes, the small voice replied directly in his mind. We are connected now, so I can speak to you, and you can also speak to me. That's amazing, William said, truly delighted. I'm glad to meet you. He then noticed his hand. The prominent tree crest on the back of his hand now had a small, shimmering star etched beside it. He looked to Víðarr for an explanation. That is the connection between you and Willow, Víðarr explained. Just like my crest connects you to me, her crest also connected you to her. But it's more likely Willow is getting more benefits than you. What do you mean by that? William asked, surprised. Well, didn't you notice how much bigger she got? Now that you mention it, she did. William realized. That's because you're so much stronger than her. Even though you have gained some of her power, it's too small for you to even notice. But her, on the other hand, absorbing a tiny bit of your mana would have been like you receiving my blessing. It's a massive boost to her growth and power. I think I get it now, William said. As long as it makes her stronger, I'm fine with that. Víðarr smiled. Take good care of this child. She is more important than you realize. Víðarr then faded out before William could ask any more questions. William turned to Willow. Are you ready to go back, Willow? Yes, she replied in his mind. Okay, before we go, there's a cute little girl at home, my niece, so she might take a liking to you. The small talk continued between them until they made it back to the manor. As they entered the manor, Olivia came running. Where have you been, Uncle? I've been looking for you. I was out in the woods, and I found a new friend that's going to come live with us, William announced. Willow, shy, was hiding behind William's back at the time. Samantha also entered the room behind Olivia, her expression curious about this new friend. Okay, you can come out, Willow. This is my mother. Her name is Samantha, and this little one is Olivia, who I was telling you about. Willow slowly emerged from behind William's neck and stood on his shoulder. Samantha put her hand up to her mouth in amazement. Uncle, is that a real fairy? Olivia asked, wide-eyed and flabbergasted. Yes, her name is Willow, and she will be living with us from now on. Olivia, still utterly mesmerized by the fairy, said, I've never seen a real fairy before. I only seen them in books and fairy tales. Can she come play with me, Uncle? Well, we will have to ask her, William said. He looked at Willow, who looked eager to explore. You can go play with Olivia if you want to. Willow shook her head yes and flew over to Olivia's hand, where she stood in her palm. Olivia smiled, so big it looked like she might pass out from the excitement. They immediately left the room to go play. Samantha, still stunned by Willow's sudden appearance, walked over to William. That's amazing, William. Unlike Olivia, I have never seen a real fairy before. William then explained to her about the Red Caps and how he had moved the pixie humans close to the World Tree for protection, and about how Willow, having lost her parents, had chosen to follow him. You never stop amazing me, William, Samantha said, shaking her head with pride. William smiled. I'm only doing what's right. Chapter 36, The Adventurers Party. The next morning, William and Willow began the work of transforming the grounds around the Warden's Manor. Willow, with her innate ability to encourage and tend to flowers, was an enormous help. William used his earth magic to shape the terrain, raising beds, laying out paths of smooth, compacted earth, and constructing a low stone wall to enclose the garden. Willow, in turn, darted between the beds, whispering growth into the seeds and coaxing vibrant colors from the soil. The enclosed area soon became a beautiful mosaic of bright, hardy wildflowers and delicate ferns, a perfect testament to the forest's healing power. As they worked, a carriage arrived, and William's sister stepped out, not alone this time. "There's only one person that could be," William said to Willow, smiling as he saw Sarah. Sarah introduced the two people tagging along, her party members. "They'll just stay in the village until our meeting is over," she said. William shook his head in agreement. "These people know you as just the lord of this village. Don't mention our bloodline to them, okay?" Sarah nodded. Then her gaze fixed on William's shoulder. "William, what is that hiding behind your head?" "Oh," William said, almost forgetting. "Willow, you can come out. This is my twin sister, Sarah." Willow emerged, and Sarah gasped. "A real-life fairy?" "Yes," William said. "I saved them from monsters, but this little one didn't have anywhere to go, so I brought her home with me. She takes care of the flowers in this garden." Sarah looked around at the newly blooming, beautiful garden. "You did all this, Willow?" Willow nodded eagerly. "They are really pretty. You did a great job," Sarah praised. Willow smiled and settled back onto William's shoulder. "Okay, let me introduce you to my party members now," Sarah said. First up was Abigail. "This is Abigail. She is a swordswoman." Abigail was tall and muscular, with striking red hair tied in a single ponytail. She wore practical, dark gray armor and carried a formidable sword and shield. William reached out his hand, and they exchanged a firm handshake. Next was Mona, and this is Mona. She is an archer. Mona was more slender and agile, with long blonde hair. She wore light leather armor and carried an elaborate bow and quiver. One of Mona's most noticeable features were her pointed ears. William stared for a moment, momentarily snagged by the sight of a fantastical race he'd only read about on Earth. Mona caught William staring. "Have you ever seen an elf before?" she asked, a slight smile on her face. William snapped out of his daze. "I'm sorry," he said. "No, you're the first one I've seen. You put me in the mind of a fairy." Mona's face turned red from the compliment. "We are the same race, but fairies tend to be more like a spirit, and elves are more like humans." "I see," William said. "You keep the same features. It's just your size and the fact that you don't have wings." "You have a pretty good understanding about elves, William," Mona commented. "Yeah, it's just that you remind me of Willow. That's why I brought it up." "Who's Willow?" Mona asked, looking confused. "She's right over there, next to the flowers," William gestured. Mona stopped, then looked stunned as she saw the tiny, real fairy. "How is she even here?" Mona asked, clearly amazed. "She came back with me to live with me since her home was destroyed." Mona looked at William, then back at the pixie. "Can I talk to her?" "I don't mind," William said. "Can you talk to fairies, Mona?" "Not so much talk, but I can feel what she's saying," Mona explained, touching her pointed ear. "Okay," William said. "I understand." Sarah, Abigail, and Mona then walked over to the edge of the garden to quietly communicate with Willow, leaving William to watch his new settlement fill with friends and family. Chapter 37: A Date with Destiny. William and Elizabeth settled into the gazebo for tea, the beautiful flowers of the garden surrounding them. William looked at Elizabeth with a determined expression. "I know we are engaged now, Elizabeth, and by my consent, if I had to marry anyone, it would be you. I just want to make sure that this is what you want." Elizabeth returned his gaze with an equally strong, determined look and told William that this is what she chose. "The moment you jumped in front of that demon to save me, I knew why Ifrit told me I should stay close to you." William looked confused. She then removed her glove to reveal a fire crest on her hand. "He is the god of fire, Ifrit," she explained. "The day I got my crest, Ifrit came to me in a dream and told me I would meet a silver-haired boy my age and I should stay close to him. He said that he was really strong and that he would also need my help in the future." She continued, a slight flush on her cheeks. I wasn't convinced at first when I seen you at the banquet, and I was quite upset over it to the point where I wasn't going to listen to Ifrit. But when the demon lunged at me, I thought I was going to die, and I knew why Ifrit sent me to you. Elizabeth quickly added, wanting to make her feelings clear. Please don't misunderstand. Ifrit led me to you, but my feelings are real. Okay, William said, accepting her explanation. There's one more thing I want to show you, since we were going to be together. William stood and held out his hand for Elizabeth's, ready to share the true wonder of his home. This may take a little to get there, but you're one of the first people I want to see this. William and Elizabeth got ready and started through the wood until they got close to the world tree. The journey was quiet, the only sounds being the rustling leaves and the light, quick footfalls of William, who knew the forest path well. Elizabeth was silent, trusting him completely. When they cleared the tree line, Elizabeth was utterly amazed. The sheer size of the world tree dwarfed everything around it, its canopy seeming to touch the very heavens. It was a spectacular sight, made even more magical by the mixture of flowers covering the ground and the tiny, glowing houses of all the fairies flying around, diligently taking care of the flora. It's so beautiful, Elizabeth whispered, tears welling in her eyes again, though this time from pure awe. William smiled, watching her reaction with quiet pride. They stayed and talked for a bit longer, resting near the base of the massive trunk, allowing Elizabeth to fully take in the peace and the subtle, humming magic of the sacred place. Eventually, they knew it was time to return. I had a great time, Elizabeth said as they walked back to the manor. Thank you for spending time with me and showing me around. You're welcome, William said. It was quite enjoyable for me also. Elizabeth smiled warmly and said, I really look forward to living here. It's so peaceful. William returned the smile, his heart settled and content. Their engagement, once a duty, now felt like a destiny guided by the fire god Ifrit and sealed by shared secrets. But their moment of quiet tranquility was suddenly broken. Elizabeth was approached by Sarah and Olivia, who seemed to appear out of nowhere. So, you're the one engaged to my brother now, Sarah stated with a mischievous glint in her eye. She then grabbed Elizabeth's hand and, before Elizabeth could utter a sound, dragged her away to talk for girl talk. Elizabeth gave William a comical, help me face, but nothing could be done as Olivia was already pushing her along, and their mother was waiting at the door, clearly eager to start the interrogation. William could only laugh and wave goodbye as his fiancée was pulled into the whirlwind of his family. Chapter 38, A New Threat. It was a busy but fulfilling first day of hosting for William. After Sarah and Olivia whisked Elizabeth away, William chuckled to himself. It looked like Elizabeth was about to face an intense interrogation. He was happy she was making connections, though. He walked back to the drawing room, where he found the Duke still seated, now enjoying a glass of something dark and amber. A successful day, it seems, my boy, the Duke said, raising his glass in a small salute. A spirited young lady, that Elizabeth. She seems quite taken with you. She is grandfather, William replied, taking the seat opposite him. And I'm learning more about her. She's strong, and she has a remarkable story. William briefly explained the meaning of Elizabeth's fire crest and the prophecy from the fire god Ifrit, though he kept the knowledge of the world tree and Willow's true nature to himself for now. The Duke listened intently, his expression shifting from curiosity to deep thought. The gods take an interest in us all, but sometimes their intentions are clearer than others. A guardian, a partner, and a source of strength. It seems you have been given a great gift, William. He paused, his gaze softening. Your father would be so proud to see you settled and surrounded by such interesting, capable people. Thank you, grandfather, William said, feeling a warmth spread through him. I just hope I can live up to whatever future the gods have planned for me. You will, the Duke affirmed, setting his glass down. You have your mother's kindness and your father's inner strength. Now, tell me, my dear boy, about your work here. That garden is spectacular. I haven't seen one like it since. He trailed off, a rare hint of sadness in his eyes. They settled into a long, comfortable conversation. William spoke about his attempts to manage the land, the unique ecosystem of the garden, and his quiet life with Willow and the other creatures of the manor. The Duke, in turn, offered insightful advice on estate management, governance, and the often tricky politics of the noble houses, sharing wisdom only a man of his experience could possess. It was the kind of genuine connection William hadn't realized he had been missing. As the sun began to set, casting long, golden shadows across the drawing room, Duke Hamilton rose. "It is time for this old man to retire for the evening. It has been a truly excellent day, William. Thank you for inviting me." "Thank you for coming, grandfather," William said, rising to walk him to his appointed rooms. The next morning, William woke to the sound of birdsong and the gentle glow of dawn. He had a full day ahead of him. He planned to spend the morning with the Duke, showing him the deeper parts of the estate and perhaps introducing him to the caretaker staff. The afternoon would be dedicated to Elizabeth, who had officially extended her stay to spend more time with him before the wedding. As he dressed, a small, silver bird flew to his window and tapped gently on the glass. He opened the latch, and the bird flew in, dropping a tightly rolled scroll tied with a thin, black silk ribbon onto his desk before flying back out. William picked up the scroll and broke the wax seal, which bore the crest of a distant, lesser-known noble house, the House of Vane. He unrolled the paper. It was a formal, though somewhat cryptic message. To William, Lord of the Fern Manor, "Congratulations on your coming union. Know that the shadows grow long, and a debt is soon to be called. A necessary sacrifice will be required for the path ahead. The time to choose your allegiance is upon you. We watch with great interest." William felt a chill that had nothing to do with the morning air. He recognized the tone. This was a message from an element of the nobility interested in the very powerful and very old magic that flowed through his family line. They were testing him, perhaps warning him, or maybe even trying to coerce him. He carefully re-rolled the scroll and placed it in a hidden drawer. The tranquil peace of the manor had been momentarily shattered by a reminder that his world was far larger and more dangerous than just his garden. He took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. He had a fiancée, a supportive family, and a fairy on his side. He wouldn't let a cryptic threat ruin the start of his new life. Chapter 39, The Hunter and the Hunted. William took the scroll he had hidden in his desk and brought it straight to his mother, Samantha. "Do you have any information on the House of Vane?" he asked, handing her the note to read. Samantha scanned the cryptic message, her eyes narrowing as she reached the line about a necessary sacrifice. "Not much, William," she admitted. "We can ask Duke Hamilton when he's up if he knows any information. It looks like they're wanting to use you for your power." She stood, the parchment held tightly in her hand, her expression turning lethal. "I knew this would happen. Just leave it to your mother, and we will take care of House Vane. No one threatens my son," she hissed, her grip tightening until the parchment strained. William felt a cold chill seeing his mother's rare, intense killing intent. The morning continued, and William and Elizabeth had breakfast together. "I'll be leaving soon to go back to the capital," Elizabeth said, her tone hopeful. "Will you come and visit me, William?" "Certainly," William said with a warm smile. "I couldn't think of any other reason to visit the capital." Elizabeth's face turned a delightful shade of red. "I had a nice time talking with your sisters," she said. William started rubbing the back of his neck. "I hope they didn't wear you out too much. Sarah and Olivia are a different type." No, it was really fun," Elizabeth insisted. William then stated that, due to the letter he received from House of Vane, he had hired Sarah and her party to escort her back to the capital. "Just don't mention that the king is our grandfather," he added quietly. "She doesn't want anyone to know that we have royal blood." Elizabeth agreed instantly. After breakfast, they started packing Elizabeth's carriage. William and Elizabeth said their goodbyes, and William helped her onto the carriage. As the carriage disappeared out of sight, William started to get a terrible feeling. He kept thinking back to the note and the section where a sacrifice will have to be paid. He knew sending Elizabeth off with his sister was either a perfect defense or a perfect target. William walked to the edge of the woods to try and feel anything through his connection with the forest, but he felt nothing. That in itself was unsettling. The forest was completely silent. It feels like a larger predator entered the area and all the wildlife fled. William couldn't pick up anything on his monster sense or any direct danger. Maybe it's just my imagination, he muttered. Suddenly, Víðarr appeared beside him, her antlers shimmering. It's not your imagination. Your senses in the forest are keen. There is something lurking, hiding from your senses. It's an ambush predator. That's why it's hard to pick up its location. William sat and thought for a moment. Elizabeth leaving today and his sister escorting her was too much of a coincidence for William to sit still. He quickly mounted his horse and rode after Elizabeth and the adventure party. Switching focus to Elizabeth in the carriage, she was staring out the window, daydreaming of her time spent with William. Sarah rode up beside the carriage and started small talk. "So, do you really like it this far out?" Sarah asked. Elizabeth nodded. "It's so peaceful and pleasant." Sarah agreed. "It is peaceful, but it's also dangerous. We have to keep an eye out for monsters the whole time." She looked around nervously. "I hope we don't run into any on the way." She then smiled to reassure Elizabeth. "Don't worry, my party will protect you. I mean, you're my sister now, so I'll do what I can." Elizabeth smiled back, feeling genuinely comforted. Suddenly, a thick, glistening web shot out of the woods and struck the horses carrying Elizabeth's carriage, instantly binding and spooking them. Everyone stopped. Sarah and her party immediately gathered around, weapons drawn, looking for the source of the attack. Then, a colossal black spider emerged from the woods. It was the size of an elephant, its 8 long, fuzzy legs moving slowly as its 6 predatory eyes scanned the area. Mona, the archer of Sarah's party, saw the monster first and warned the others. "Oh no, that is an A-class monster." The gigantic spider had cut off their path of escape, and the only way out was to fight. Sarah, the water mage, took the lead. "Mona, keep your distance. Abigail, protect the carriage." Mona drew a bowstring, and 3 light arrows of pure mana materialized. She released them in quick succession. 3 arrows strike the spider's thick carapace, making sharp clangs but doing little more than agitating the beast. The spider roared a clicking, guttural sound and launched itself at the party. Abigail, the swordswoman, a sturdy woman with a broadsword, intercepted the charge. She slams her sword hilt down into the ground, creating a wall of reinforced steel magic just as the spider reaches them, briefly stopping the momentum of the massive creature. Sarah seized the opening. Water mana erupts from her hands, coalescing into a dozen razor-sharp icicles that fly toward the spider's exposed eyes. 3 of the 6 eyes are blinded by the attack, and the spider shrieks in pain, rearing back. The spider was furious. It thrashed out with 2 of its enormous legs, sweeping them through the ground where the adventurers stood. Abigail was knocked aside, her guard broken. Mona barely managed to tumble out of the way. Now, with the party scrambling, the monstrous creature focused its 6 remaining eyes on the most vulnerable target, the carriage. Its intent was clear. It wanted the passenger. The spider began to raise its massive, venomous foreleg, ready to strike down and crush Elizabeth inside the carriage. Elizabeth screamed, covering her head as she waited for the final, devastating blow. The killing strike was mere inches away when, with a deafening crack and a shower of earth, a colossal, jagged earth spike shot out of the ground and impaled the spider's main foreleg. The spider howled, its leg pinned to the ground. The force of the strike was immense. A voice, deeper and more powerful than they had ever heard William speak, echoed through the woods. "Leave my sister and my fiancée alone." From the trees, a figure burst forth. It was William, but not as they knew him. He was in full druid transformation, his body lean and powerful, silvery gray hair longer, his eyes glowing green, and the runes on his chest pulsating. He looked like a creature of pure elemental wrath, a champion of the deep woods, fully prepared to battle the A-class monster and save his family.